this video where we're going to be looking at the third study on the Grade 5 Cello exam by Trinity, which is called On the Slide, and this deals with cello techniques. So what are those cello techniques? Well, the first one is, the clue is in the title, on the slide. So there's lots of shifting, particularly between first and fourth position, up and down from those two positions. So right at the beginning we've got this. That's a great example. And then you'll notice that in bar 5 it's actually extended a little bit. Wow. And then later on you actually got to B. So that's the climax of the whole piece. That's the highest part of the piece, isn't it? So it goes up quite high. So whenever I look at this and I scan it, my first impression is that it's very undulating. It's very like that, isn't it? So it starts low, goes high. It's like being in the car with a bad driver. You go, oh, he's going faster in this way. It's like that. It's that sort of feeling. So, yeah. So, what else about it? What about the articulation? So there are lots of slurs in this piece. Not only that, there are lots of mixed slurred patterns. So, you know, in the first bar, like the first two notes are slurred, the whole bar is slurred. And then in the next bar, you got, and the next bar is different. And the next bar, there's no slurs. So there are lots of variations in slurs. Later on in bar 11 you got 4 slurred notes and 2 and 2, very unusual. And then the next 3 bars you got groups of 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, like that. So that's something else to watch out for. So one of the problems with that sort of bowing is that you've got to try and get back to the heel of the bow, otherwise you'll be up at the tip. So in bar 7, for example, you got 2 crotchets and slurred and then a crotchet. So you got to try and on the third beat to get back up, on the up will get back to the heel, like that. So another good example is in bar 7. I do a thing called a zigzag. So bar 5 goes like this. So you're at the tip, and 3 beats you've got to get back to the heel. So look, push on the up bow, don't do so much in this, and then push on that, and then voila, we're at the heel. So lots of little tricks like that to watch out for. That also occurs in bar 2. Look, push, don't push, and look, we're at the heel now, which is really, really cool. What else? Well, let's look at all of the slurs. So that's the main point of this piece, isn't it? So I like starting quite positively rather than creeping in with a. So I tap my hand, this finger here. So I have my 1 down, but it's starting to 2, so I tap it, and that also engages the vibrato. You know, it's the wonderful cello pedagogue, teacher Stephen Doan, he talks about that. Check out his videos, they're amazing. So it kickstarts the vibrato. And remember, for grade 5 they do expect you to have some trace of vibrato, you know, for it to be starting and for you to be exploring, looking at that. So again, look at Stephen Doan's videos, they're fantastic on that subject. What else? So well, from a technical point of view, how do we do these slides? Well, I keep on going out at Stephen Doan, but I have to say I've been very influenced by him, and I have one of his books on cello ergonomics, and it's amazing. He gives that to all of his students, and Eastman, and I really recommend that. So one of his ideas is, did you see what I did with my elbow? I did a little circle. So if I'm going to go up the cello, which is actually down, literally down, but up in pitch, you do a little you do a clockwise circle. That's clockwise with your elbow. So, and the shift sort of does itself. It's amazing. And then vice versa. So into bar 2, so on the way back down, you're doing that with your elbow. So I would mainly do that with bigger shifts. With smaller ones, I wouldn't do that so much. But bigger ones I do. A really good example of that is in bar 5. That's really good fun. And use a harmonic there. There's no harmonic written, but I would do it. I think it's really cool. Do you see my little anti-clockwise circle whenever it was descending there? So watch out for that. Good, that's great. Now, and any other horrible shifts? Scanning through bar 9, back and then up. The hardest one's this one. So I would let the slide be your guide. So hear the note B in your head. So you got and I'll use a harmonic on that. And it'll hold for a millisecond to give you time to get back to the G sharp. It's really expressive, isn't it? So you got a little chromatic run up to see my elbow? So that's that. What about at the very end, the last 2 bars? Well, you got 3 down bows, which is very unusual. That's your first one. And then you got chord. I like spreading this. And at the end, I like doing a staccato note. And then I do it in slow motion. I go back to the heel for the last note. So put that all together. Start this second beat from where the first one finished, like this, and then go all the way back to the heel like that. So that's practice that. In fast, and make sure you don't whack the last note because there's a temptation to go. But actually, there's a diminuendo all the way from bar 12 right down to the last note. So it finishes quite quietly. So it starts quite expressively, and then it finishes quite, well, it sort of goes on a journey, doesn't it? If we're talking about the dynamics for the moment, it starts off MP, so MF, then crescendo, crescendo, this is the climax. That's diminuendo, and then isn't it? So really nice study, isn't it? So that's a little overview of the dynamics. What else? Oh yes, this is something else. So do you see in bar 3 and bar 4, there's a correlation, that's my big word for the day, between those 2 bars and bar 7 and 8. Well, I wonder, do you hear what I'm talking about? So you got this is bar 3, here you got an extension, and you have a tone shape or an extended hand shape, and then you got to go up to an E, and I use a 4th finger for this. So what I do is I shift up, I go up a semitone to the note C, but I maintain the tone shape that I have. So I'm keeping the same frame of my hand. Probably heard that if you listen to lots of YouTube videos, people talking about the frame of your hand. So just that shape, you use it in scales. It's a good idea to think about the frame. Have you got in E major, you got the same shape here, and then you got a close position. So no stretch. Another one that's close, and that's close position. So that's extended, close, it's like that. So do be aware of that whenever you're playing this piece. So here you extend hand position bar 3, and then you go to use this little guide note, cheeky guide note, and then you maintain the tone shape, the extended hand shape, and then you just shift back to the E. Here's a harmonic up there. I forgot to mention that. So now, do you notice that you got the same thing happening, but sort of in reverse really. So you got in bar 7 and 8, you go from the high note to the low note with an extended hand position. So those 3 notes are all in the same shape, but here what you do is you go up to the note F, and then you maintain the tone shape. So, but you don't want to hear that note. So look at that. And then without the little guide note. So watch out for that, and it's actually really easy. So the idea with this piece is to try and cover as many notes as you can to eliminate having to shift around, to keep it as economical as you can and only shift whenever you absolutely need to. So it should look as if it's effortless, and you really need to choreograph this. And with any study, as with any study, it's really important that you do what it says on the tin. So you can't just make up your own fingerings in a study. You have to stick to what they want you to do, or else the examiner could very well mark you down, which would not be good. We don't want that, so stick to what it says on the tin. So there's one dotted rhythm in this piece, so that's in bar 8. So you got 1, 2, so don't forget to feel the silent second beat. 1, 2, watch out for that. So I think that's pretty much it. So it's a really lovely study on the slide, so have fun with it, and see you in the next video. Cello!